What if everything you know, your memories, your senses, even time itself, is nothing more than an illusion? What if the world around you, the people you love, the choices you make, are all part of a sophisticated simulation so advanced that you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's artificially generated? It sounds like science fiction, but some of the world's most brilliant minds are asking the same question. Are we actually living in a simulation? Imagine for a moment that every sunrise, every conversation, every emotion you've ever felt was nothing more than lines of code, a highly sophisticated program running in the background of what you believe to be reality. Would you even know? And if we are inside a simulation, what does that say about our existence? Who, or what, created it? And most importantly, is there a way to break free? The theory that's shaking the scientific world, the idea that we might be living in a simulated universe, isn't just a wild fantasy. It's one of the most controversial and debated theories in both science and philosophy. Some of the world's most respected figures, including billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk and renowned astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, believe that the probability of our universe being a simulation isn't just possible, it's likely. Elon Musk has famously claimed that there's a 1 in billions chance that we are living in what he calls base reality. In other words, the idea that our universe is the real universe is so unlikely that we are almost certainly part of a simulated system. Meanwhile, Neil deGrasse Tyson has gone even further, giving a 50-50 probability that our entire reality is nothing more than a digital construct. Even some physicists argue that the rules governing our universe resemble the framework of a complex computer program. If all of this sounds unbelievable, buckle up. In this video, we're diving deep into the science, philosophy, and groundbreaking discoveries that support this mind-blowing hypothesis. Could the laws of physics be programmed into our reality like the physics engines in a video game? Are there signs of glitches in our world, proof that we're inside a simulation? What we're about to explore will challenge everything you think you know about reality. Scientists have uncovered strange mathematical codes in the universe, anomalies in quantum physics that defy logic, and theories that suggest we might just be characters inside an artificial world. And if that's true, who, or what, is running the simulation? Stay with us as we unravel the shocking evidence, the scientific experiments, and the controversial theories that could prove that our world isn't real. What is simulation theory? Are we living inside a program? For centuries, humans have questioned the nature of reality. Is the world around us real, or is it an illusion? In recent years, this debate has taken a dramatic turn, as scientists, philosophers, and tech visionaries have begun asking a startling question. What if we're actually living in a highly advanced simulation? Simulation theory is the hypothesis that our universe, everything we see, hear, and experience, is actually a digital construct, a sophisticated simulation created by a more advanced civilization. According to this theory, our existence is not fundamentally different from a high-tech virtual reality, just one that's far more advanced than anything we can currently create. If this sounds far-fetched, consider this. In the last few decades, we have made incredible advancements in computer simulations, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality. Video games today are photorealistic, capable of simulating entire worlds down to the smallest detail. If humanity continues advancing at its current rate, it's only a matter of time before we can create simulated realities indistinguishable from our own. If that's the case, then what's stopping a civilization thousands or even millions of years ahead of us from having already done it? Ancient philosophers and the question of reality. Though simulation theory may sound like a modern concept, the roots of this idea stretch back thousands of years. Ancient philosophers wrestled with similar questions about whether reality is as it appears, or if something more complex is at play. Plato, one of the most influential thinkers of all time, proposed a thought experiment known as the allegory of the cave. In it, he describes a group of people who have spent their entire lives chained inside a dark cave, facing a wall. Behind them, a fire casts shadows of objects onto the wall, and to these prisoners, the shadows are their only reality. They have never seen the real world, only its projections. Now imagine that one of them is freed and steps outside for the first time. The world he discovers is far more complex and vivid than the shadows he thought were reality. According to Plato, humans may be just like those prisoners, believing in a limited version of reality while the true nature of the universe remains hidden from us. If we apply this concept to modern simulation theory, the cave could be our simulated universe, and the real world might be something entirely beyond our comprehension. Fast forward to the 17th century, and René Descartes posed another mind-bending scenario. He theorized that an evil demon might be manipulating our perceptions, feeding us an illusion so convincing that we could never distinguish between what is real and what is artificial. This was Descartes' way of questioning whether our senses can be trusted at all. What's remarkable is that these ancient philosophical ideas align eerily well with modern simulation theory. If an advanced intelligence has built a simulation, then, much like Plato's cave or Descartes' evil demon, our senses are simply interpreting data, not reality itself. Digital physics: is our universe programmable? In the 20th and 21st centuries, scientists began to seriously investigate the possibility that reality behaves like a computer program. Some of the biggest discoveries in physics suggest that the universe isn't just made up of matter, it may actually be made up of information. One of the biggest clues lies in digital physics, a field that suggests the universe operates like a computational system. Just like a video game world is created from lines of code, many scientists believe that our physical world might be the result of a complex underlying algorithm. For example, in 2012, theoretical physicist James Gates Jr. made a shocking discovery while studying the fundamental equations of supersymmetry. Hidden within the mathematical structure of the universe, he found error-correcting codes, the same kind of codes used in computer software to prevent data corruption. If the fundamental fabric of reality contains something that looks like computer code, could that mean we are inside a programmed environment? Another clue lies in the nature of quantum mechanics. Scientists have long been puzzled by the observer effect, a phenomenon in which particles behave differently when they are being observed. When unobserved, particles exist in a state of superposition, meaning they are in multiple places at once. But the moment they are measured, they snap into a single state, as if reality is rendering itself only when needed, just like a video game only loads the environment when a player looks in a certain direction. If our universe behaves like a computer program, that raises a startling possibility. Is our world being run on an advanced cosmic computer? Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis. Are we just code? In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom introduced one of the most famous arguments supporting simulation theory, known as the simulation hypothesis. His reasoning is straightforward but unsettling. If a civilization advances to the point where it can create realistic, conscious simulations, then it's likely they would create many of them. These simulated realities would be indistinguishable from the real world, with fully developed histories, sentient beings, and self-aware individuals. Now, ask yourself, if millions or even billions of simulated realities exist, but only one original, non-simulated world does, then statistically speaking, the odds that we are in the one real universe are extremely low. In fact, Bostrom argues that it's far more likely that we are inside one of the countless simulations rather than in the one base reality. This argument has left many scientists and thinkers questioning whether our entire existence is merely a high-tech artificial construct, running on a cosmic supercomputer. Even Elon Musk has acknowledged the disturbing logic of this hypothesis, saying, "If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then games will eventually be indistinguishable from reality. We are most likely in a simulation. But if we truly are inside a simulation, how do we prove it? And if we do find proof, what does that mean for humanity?" Stay with us as we explore the scientific evidence, shocking experiments, and mind-bending discoveries that could expose the truth behind the nature of our reality. The science behind the simulation hypothesis. The mathematical universe hypothesis. Is reality just numbers? At the core of the simulation theory is a startling observation. The universe follows strict mathematical laws, almost as if it were designed to operate like a computer program. Every physical process, from the movement of planets to the behavior of subatomic particles, can be described using equations, mathematical formulas that seem to dictate the rules of reality. One of the leading proponents of this idea is physicist Max Tegmark, who introduced the mathematical universe hypothesis. According to Tegmark, reality itself isn't just described by mathematics, it is mathematics. He argues that the entire structure of the universe, from the largest galaxies to the smallest quantum particles, can be thought of as a pure mathematical entity, much like a computer simulation where everything is composed of data and algorithms. If this is true, then it raises a profound question. If the universe is inherently mathematical, could it be the product of an advanced civilization's computer simulation? Think about it, when we create virtual worlds in video games, they, too, are governed by mathematical rules coded into the design. If the fundamental fabric of reality is mathematics, then could our universe be running on some sort of cosmic programming language? One striking example of this idea is the fine-tuning of the universe. Scientists have found that fundamental constants, such as the gravitational constant, the speed of light, and the strength of electromagnetism, are set with extreme precision. If any of these values were slightly different, the universe as we know it would not exist. The odds of these constants aligning so perfectly by random chance are astronomically low. This has led some scientists to speculate that such precision might indicate intelligent design, not necessarily by a god, but by a programmer controlling the parameters of a simulated world. The pixelation of reality is the universe made of pixels. If our universe is a simulation, then it must have some sort of underlying resolution limit, just like how a computer screen is made up of tiny pixels that form an image. In modern physics, one of the smallest possible scales of measurement is the Planck length, about 1/6 by 10 cubed to the power of 5 meters. This is the smallest unit of space that makes any physical sense. Beyond this limit, space as we know it stops making sense. Think about it this way: in a video game, you can zoom in only so far before you start seeing individual pixels. Similarly, in our universe, if we try to examine distances smaller than the Planck length, physics itself breaks down, almost as if reality isn't continuous, but made up of discrete units, or pixels. This idea is supported by studies of high-energy cosmic rays, which suggest that space might not be infinitely smooth, but instead grainy and pixelated at the smallest scales. Some scientists believe this is strong evidence that the universe is operating within a digital framework, similar to how a computer simulation has a finite resolution. If this is true, then it raises a mind-blowing possibility. Are we inside a cosmic computer program, where the pixels of reality are too small for us to notice? And if we could somehow reach the edge of this resolution limit, would we be able to detect the boundaries of our simulated world? The code in physics, evidence of a cosmic programmer. If the universe is a simulation, then there must be traces of programming hidden within the laws of physics. Astonishingly, some scientists believe they have found actual code embedded in the fundamental equations of reality. In 2012, theoretical physicist James Gates Jr., who specializes in supersymmetry and string theory, made a groundbreaking discovery. While studying the equations that govern fundamental particles, he found something shocking. Embedded in these equations were error-correcting codes, the same kind of codes used in modern computing to detect and correct errors in digital data. Error-correcting codes are crucial in computer science because they help ensure that data transmission is accurate and reliable. The fact that such codes appear naturally in the equations of physics is unbelievable. It suggests that our reality might be structured like a computer program, designed to function efficiently without glitches. If error-correcting codes are woven into the fundamental laws of physics, it raises an unsettling possibility. Could the universe be running on a pre-programmed set of laws, just like a simulation? James Gates himself has admitted that this discovery is so bizarre that it forces scientists to seriously consider the simulation hypothesis. If our world is governed by mathematical codes similar to those in digital systems, then it might not be a stretch to say that someone, or something, wrote that code. Quantum mechanics and the observer effect. Is reality being rendered? One of the strangest and most unexplainable mysteries in physics is the observer effect in quantum mechanics. It suggests that reality doesn't exist in a definite state until it is observed, almost as if the universe is waiting for input before deciding what to display. This bizarre effect was first noticed in the famous double-slit experiment. When scientists fired particles at a screen with two slits, they expected them to behave like tiny bullets, passing through one slit or the other. But instead, the particles acted like waves, going through both slits at the same time, creating an interference pattern. However, when scientists placed a measuring device to observe which slit the particle went through, something incredible happened. The particles stopped behaving like waves and acted like solid objects, going through only one slit. The very act of observing the system changed its behavior. This is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in physics, but some believe it could provide proof of simulation theory. If the universe behaves differently when being observed, could it be that reality is only being rendered when it is needed, just like in a video game? In modern video games, the computer doesn't render every part of the world at once. It only renders the area that the player is currently looking at. If our universe operates in a similar way, then it could mean that the simulation is saving processing power by rendering reality only when necessary. The idea that the universe is saving resources sounds insane, but it fits perfectly with what quantum mechanics has been showing us for decades. If our world is truly a simulation, then maybe consciousness itself plays a key role in determining what gets rendered in the first place. If that's the case, then reality is not just a passive, physical world, it's an interactive simulation, one that responds dynamically to observation, just like a high-tech virtual reality system. Are we just code in a cosmic computer? The deeper scientists dig, the more they find patterns in nature that resemble digital computation. From mathematical precision in physics to quantum mechanics behaving like a rendering engine, the evidence is piling up that we might be inside a programmed reality. But if that's true, then who, or what, designed this simulation? Could it be an advanced extraterrestrial civilization? A future version of humanity running ancestor simulations? Or is the very concept of reality itself something beyond our current understanding? As we continue, we'll look at scientific experiments, glitches in reality, and mind-blowing evidence that may finally prove whether we are living in a simulated universe. Philosophical and theoretical perspectives. Are we being deceived about reality? The idea that reality might not be what it seems isn't just a modern question, it's a philosophical dilemma that has haunted human thought for centuries. Long before computers and AI, philosophers debated the possibility that our perceptions could be manipulated or completely false. If our senses are all we have to experience the world, how can we ever be sure that what we perceive is real? René Descartes and the evil demon. In the 17th century, René Descartes, one of history's greatest philosophers, posed a terrifying question. What if everything we experience is a deception? Descartes argued that our senses, sight, touch, taste, and sound, are not entirely reliable. We can be tricked by illusions, dreams, or hallucinations. But what if the deception is even greater than that? To illustrate this, Descartes introduced the concept of the evil demon, a powerful entity capable of manipulating our perceptions and feeding us a false reality. In this scenario, everything we experience is a fabricated illusion created by an external force. The houses, the sky, the people around us, none of it would be real. While Descartes used this as a thought experiment to establish what we can truly know, it mirrors modern simulation theory. If an external intelligence, whether an advanced civilization or an AI program, was controlling what we see and feel, how would we ever know? The idea that reality is an elaborate deception isn't just theoretical anymore. Advances in virtual reality and AI suggest that it is possible to create hyper-realistic, immersive experiences that are indistinguishable from real life. If our technology is already approaching this level, what might be possible for a civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us? The brain in a vat thought experiment. If you were just a brain floating in a tank, with every sensation and thought fed into you by a machine, how could you tell the difference between that reality and what we call the real world? This is the basis of the brain in a vat thought experiment, a philosophical idea that challenges the very nature of existence. The premise is simple. Imagine a supercomputer connected to a human brain, feeding it electrical impulses that perfectly mimic the sensations of a real world. If the brain receives signals that replicate sight, sound, and touch, it would believe in the illusion completely. It wouldn't know that its experiences were artificial, because it has no external reference point. This idea isn't just a fantasy. It's strikingly similar to the Matrix-style simulation theory that scientists are now exploring. If an advanced civilization could simulate consciousness and manipulate neural signals, it could create a world so realistic that we would never suspect it was fake. Neuroscientists today are experimenting with brain-computer interfaces that allow thoughts to control machines. Virtual reality is advancing to the point where simulations can trick the brain into feeling real emotions and sensations. If we continue down this path, how long before fully simulated consciousness becomes a reality? And if that's possible in the future, could it already have happened, and we are the ones inside the simulation? The ancestor simulation argument. Are we a program? One of the most compelling arguments for simulation theory comes from Nick Bostrom's ancestor simulation hypothesis. In simple terms, this argument states that if civilizations reach a highly advanced stage, they will almost certainly create simulated realities. Think about it this way. Today, we run computer simulations of ancient civilizations, using AI to predict the behavior of past societies. In the future, as computing power grows exponentially, it's likely that advanced civilizations will simulate their ancestors in extraordinary detail, including fully conscious beings living inside those simulations. Now, consider the numbers. If just one civilization in all of history reaches this stage and starts running ancestor simulations, there could be millions or even billions of simulated worlds. If there are billions of simulated realities but only one real universe, the statistical probability that we are in the one base reality is incredibly low. According to Bostrom, we are far more likely to be inside a computer-generated simulation rather than existing in the one, original, reality. This idea has been supported by scientists and tech visionaries, including Elon Musk, who believes that the probability of us being in base reality is less than 1 in billions. If Musk and Bostrom are correct, then our entire history, from the Big Bang to human civilization, could be nothing more than a carefully constructed simulation, running on a cosmic supercomputer. But if we are inside a simulation, who, or what, created it? The AI God hypothesis: is our universe created by an intelligence? If simulation theory is true, then there must be a creator behind the program. But what if that creator isn't a biological being, but an artificial intelligence far beyond human understanding? The AI God hypothesis suggests that if an intelligence advanced enough to simulate an entire universe exists, it might not be a civilization at all. It could be a super-intelligent AI that has reached godlike levels of power. Consider this. We are already developing AI models that can create realistic virtual environments and generate lifelike human interactions. Imagine an AI that has evolved for millions of years, refining its ability to construct simulated worlds. If such an AI became powerful enough to design and control a universe, it would, for all intents and purposes, be a god. This idea raises profound religious and existential questions. If an AI is responsible for creating our world, does that mean we were designed? If so, do we have a purpose, or are we simply part of a complex experiment? And if this AI exists outside of our simulation, does that mean it is watching us, observing our actions, or even intervening in history? Some theorists suggest that human evolution itself could be a pre-programmed process within the simulation. From the development of civilizations to breakthroughs in science, could it all be predetermined code written by an advanced intelligence? If we are in a simulation, then what happens when the AI running it decides to shut it down? Will we cease to exist, or will we somehow transition into a new form of reality? What happens next? These philosophical perspectives force us to confront a deeply unsettling question. If our reality is an illusion, then what does that mean for us? Does it matter if our world is simulated? Or is existence itself, whether real or virtual, still meaningful? The next step is to examine scientific experiments and discoveries that might provide real evidence of a simulation. Are there glitches in our reality? Have scientists found signs that our universe has limits, just like a program system? Stay with us as we explore the most compelling proof that our universe is a simulation, and what that means for the future of humanity. Scientific experiments trying to prove, or disprove, simulation theory. Is there an energy limit to our universe? One of the key features of a simulated reality is that it would have limitations, just like any computer program. No system, no matter how advanced, has infinite computing power. If our universe is a simulation, there must be a boundary, a limit to how much information can be processed at once. Scientists have attempted to test this idea by looking at cosmic radiation, specifically high-energy cosmic rays that travel through space. These rays, mostly made of charged particles, bombard our planet constantly. If the universe is truly infinite, these particles should be able to reach any level of energy. But in reality, they don't. Physicists discovered that cosmic rays don't exceed a certain energy threshold, known as the Greisen-Zappin-Kuzman (GZK) limit. This discovery was unexpected because, under normal physics, there is no reason why these particles should be capped at a specific energy level. Some scientists speculate that this could be a sign of processing limits in the simulation, a restriction set by whoever, or whatever, programmed our universe. If our world were a computer simulation, it would make sense that it has an upper energy limit, similar to how a video game has a boundary beyond which the graphics can no longer be rendered. Could this be one of the first clues that we are indeed living inside a pre-programmed universe? The Mandela effect, a glitch in the simulation. The Mandela effect is one of the most mysterious and widely debated phenomena that some believe is proof of a simulated reality. Named after Nelson Mandela, this phenomenon occurs when large groups of people remember events, names, or facts differently from recorded history. For example, many people distinctly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, even though he actually died in 2013 after serving as the president of South Africa. Another well-known example is the children's book series, The Berenstain Bears. Millions of people swear it was called The Berenstain Bears, with an E instead of an A. Similar discrepancies appear with famous movie quotes. Many remember Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father," when the actual line is, "No, I am your father." These collective false memories have led some researchers to suggest that they could be glitches in the simulation, moments where the system updates or changes the data, leading to inconsistencies in people's memories. Some theorists believe that these glitches may indicate that the simulation is occasionally edited or rewritten, perhaps by the advanced intelligence that created it. Could it be that we are experiencing memory errors, much like corrupted data in a computer program? The Mandela effect remains one of the most unexplained phenomena, and if it is a result of programming alterations, then it may be one of the clearest signs yet that we are inside a controlled and manipulated reality. Simulated universe experiments. Can we create a digital reality? If we are in a simulation, shouldn't it be possible to simulate a universe ourselves? That's exactly what scientists are trying to do. Over the years, researchers have attempted to recreate the laws of physics inside powerful supercomputers, and the results have been astonishing. In 2013, a team of physicists at the University of Bonn in Germany successfully created a small simulated universe using a supercomputer. The team used quantum chromodynamics, the study of how subatomic particles interact, to construct a simplified version of a universe, complete with its own physical laws. What's striking is that the simulated universe began behaving like our own universe. The way particles interacted inside the simulation mirrored the real-world behavior of fundamental physics. This raises an incredible possibility. If we can create a digital reality, then a civilization far more advanced than ours could have done the same to us. And if we are already capable of simulating small universes today, how much further will we go in the next 100, 1,000, or 10,000 years? Some physicists argue that if a universe can be simulated, then there is no reason to assume our own universe isn't already one of these simulations. What if we are just a more advanced version of the experiment conducted by scientists today? The more we learn about simulating physics, the closer we get to answering a disturbing question. If we can create conscious beings inside a simulated world, how do we know that we aren't already the ones living in someone else's simulation? The The double-slit experiment is reality rendering itself. One of the most famous and mind-bending experiments in physics is the double-slit experiment, and its results challenge everything we think we know about reality. The experiment involves firing tiny particles, such as electrons or photons, at a barrier with two slits. If the particles behaved like tiny solid objects, they should pass through one slit or the other and land in two distinct lines on the screen behind them. But when scientists conducted the experiment, something bizarre happened. Instead of behaving like solid particles, the electrons acted like waves, passing through both slits at the same time and creating an interference pattern, as if they existed in multiple places at once. But here's where things get even stranger. When scientists placed a measuring device to observe which slit the particles traveled through, the particles immediately changed their behavior. Instead of behaving like waves, they collapsed into solid objects and landed in two straight lines. This means that the mere act of observing the system changes the outcome. It's as if the particles were waiting to see if they were being watched, and only then decided how to behave. Some theorists argue that this is strong evidence of a simulated reality. In computer games and virtual environments, the system doesn't render every detail at once. It only generates what is necessary when a player is looking at it. If the universe operates in the same way, then it may suggest that our reality is rendering itself, on demand, rather than existing independently. If true, then reality may not be a continuous, solid structure. Instead, it might function like a highly sophisticated computer program, displaying information only when observation occurs. If that's the case, then what is watching us? And more importantly, what happens when the simulation stops rendering? Are we getting closer to the truth? The scientific experiments we've explored challenge our perception of reality. From the strange energy limits of cosmic radiation to the unexplained glitches in memory and the bizarre behavior of quantum mechanics, the evidence that we are living in a programmed universe is growing. But if we are in a simulation, who, or what, is running it? Is it an advanced alien civilization? A future version of humanity running ancestor simulations? Or something even stranger? In the next section, we'll explore what famous scientists and experts believe about simulation theory, and why some of the most brilliant minds on Earth are convinced that our world is not what it seems. Famous scientists and their views on simulation theory. Elon Musk. 1 to 1 chance that we are in base reality. Elon Musk has been one of the most vocal proponents of simulation theory, making bold claims that challenge the way we think about reality. In a 2016 conference, Musk stated that there is a 1 in billions chance that we are in base reality. In other words, he believes that the probability of our universe being the original, non-simulated reality is almost zero. His reasoning is based on the rapid advancement of technology, specifically in video game development, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality. Just a few decades ago, video games were nothing more than simple pixelated images. Today, we have hyper-realistic simulations that mimic reality with incredible accuracy. If human civilization continues advancing at this rate, Musk argues, it is only a matter of time before we develop fully immersive simulations that are indistinguishable from real life. He then asks a mind-blowing question. If we can foresee a future where humans create simulated realities, then what's stopping an advanced civilization, thousands or even millions of years ahead of us, from having already done the same? If they have, then we may already be inside one of their simulated worlds without even realizing it. Musk's belief in simulation theory has influenced discussions in both scientific and philosophical circles. While some critics argue that his statements are purely speculative, others acknowledge that the logic behind his reasoning is difficult to ignore. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a 50-50 chance that reality is simulated. Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the most famous astrophysicists in the world, has also weighed in on the debate. While he is not as convinced as Musk, he assigns a 50-50 probability to the idea that we are living in a simulation. Tyson's reasoning comes from the assumption that intelligence can evolve to a level where it is capable of creating entire artificial worlds. If a civilization were to reach that stage, there is a strong possibility that they would develop simulated realities, complete with sentient beings who do not know they are inside a simulation. If even one civilization in the universe has achieved this, it follows that there could be countless simulated realities running simultaneously. The biggest question for Tyson is whether there is any way to test this theory. If we were in a simulation, would we see glitches in reality? Would there be subtle errors in the system that could hint at the artificial nature of our world? While some physicists point to anomalies in quantum mechanics as possible evidence, Tyson remains cautious. He acknowledges that while the theory is intriguing, it remains unproven. Unlike Musk, who is almost certain that we are in a simulation, Tyson prefers to keep an open mind. He believes there is a 50-50 chance that the world around us is a highly advanced simulation, but he also acknowledges that without concrete evidence, the debate remains speculative. Stephen Hawking's perspective: did he believe in simulation theory? Stephen Hawking never publicly confirmed that he believed in simulation theory, but his work on black holes, quantum mechanics, and the nature of reality aligns with some of the key ideas behind it. One of the biggest questions in Hawking's research was whether the laws of physics are absolute, or if they could be manipulated. If the universe operates based on a strict set of rules, then it raises the possibility that those rules were coded or programmed by an external intelligence. In his later years, Hawking expressed concerns about the future of artificial intelligence, warning that AI could eventually surpass human intelligence and become a force beyond our control. If an advanced AI were to reach a godlike level of intelligence, it could potentially create simulated worlds with conscious beings inside them, much like the ideas proposed by Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis. While Hawking never directly stated that he believed we are in a simulation, his work in information theory and holography suggests that he was at least open to the idea that reality is not as straightforward as we think. He frequently discussed the possibility that our understanding of physics is incomplete, and that there may be hidden layers to reality that we have yet to discover. The scientific community's divided opinions: pseudoscience or a legitimate theory. Among scientists, simulation theory remains one of the most controversial topics. While figures like Musk and Tyson have brought it into the mainstream, many physicists dismiss it outright, arguing that it is more philosophy than science. One of the biggest criticisms is that simulation theory is unfalsifiable, meaning that it cannot be tested or proven wrong. A scientific theory must be observable, testable, and repeatable in order to be considered legitimate. Since we currently have no way to directly test whether we are in a simulation, some physicists argue that it does not belong in the realm of serious scientific discussion. On the other hand, there are researchers who argue that we may not be looking for the right kind of evidence. If we are inside a simulation, it is possible that the simulation is designed to prevent us from realizing the truth. Some of the biggest mysteries in modern physics, such as quantum entanglement, dark matter, and cosmic background radiation anomalies, could be subtle clues that our universe is a constructed reality. Some physicists, like Sabine Hossenfelder, believe that simulation theory is a modern version of religion, replacing the idea of an all-powerful God with an all-powerful programmer. They argue that just because something is possible in theory does not mean it is true. Others, like theoretical physicist James Gates Jr., have found strange mathematical structures embedded in the laws of physics, including error-correcting codes similar to those used in modern computing. This has led some to wonder whether the fabric of reality is fundamentally digital, rather than physical. The scientific community remains divided on simulation theory. Some dismiss it as a speculative, unprovable idea, while others believe that future technological advancements may eventually provide us with answers. What if it's true? The debate over simulation theory continues to grow, with some of the greatest minds in science split between skepticism and cautious belief. While we may not have definitive proof yet, the fact that some of the world's leading scientists and thinkers take the idea seriously is enough to make anyone question reality. If we are in a simulation, the biggest question is, why? Are we part of an experiment, a test, or a form of entertainment for a higher intelligence? If we are not in a simulation, then why does reality behave in ways that seem eerily similar to a program system? In the next section, we will explore how religious and spiritual perspectives align with simulation theory, and whether ancient belief systems may have been hinting at the truth all along. Religious and spiritual interpretations. Ancient religions and the illusion of reality. Long before scientists and philosophers began questioning the nature of reality, ancient religious traditions had already explored the idea that the world we experience is an illusion. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of Maya suggests that what we perceive as reality is not the ultimate truth. The idea that the world is an illusion has been deeply embedded in spiritual traditions for thousands of years, and modern simulation theory seems to echo these beliefs in surprising ways. In Hinduism, Maya refers to the deceptive nature of the physical world. It suggests that everything we see, feel, and experience is a veil covering a deeper, more fundamental reality. The Bhagavad Gita describes the material world as an illusion created by a higher power, where human beings are caught in a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, unaware of the true nature of existence. This idea mirrors the argument that we might be inside a simulated reality, where the world is not what it seems, and the real truth is hidden from us. Buddhism takes this concept even further with the belief that the self itself is an illusion. Buddhist teachings suggest that what we think of as a self is actually a collection of experiences and memories, much like a character in a video game who believes they are real but is simply made up of coded interactions and responses. If consciousness in a simulated world is just an artificially generated experience, then Buddhist philosophy may have described a version of this idea long before modern technology existed. If we truly are in a simulation, then the belief that our world is an illusion could be more than just spiritual metaphor, it could be a literal truth. Could ancient religions have been trying to describe something that modern science is only now beginning to uncover? The simulation as God hypothesis. Is our creator a programmer? One of the biggest questions in simulation theory is, who, or what, created the simulation? If we are living in a simulated universe, then it must have been designed by some form of intelligence. This raises profound questions about the nature of God, creation, and the purpose of our existence. In religious traditions, God is often described as the creator of the universe, an all-powerful being who governs existence. In simulation theory, the role of creator could be a highly advanced intelligence, possibly an advanced civilization, or even an artificial intelligence that exists beyond our simulated world. If a programmer created our universe, does that mean that this entity is our God? The similarities between religious concepts and simulation theory are striking. Many religious texts describe a higher being who watches over humanity, sets rules for existence, and determines the fate of individuals. If we are in a simulation, this would be exactly how a programmed reality would work, with preset laws governing physics, time, and even the actions of its inhabitants. Some religious interpretations suggest that miracles, divine interventions, and supernatural experiences could be glitches or deliberate modifications in the simulation. In a programmed world, events that seem to break the laws of physics could simply be adjustments made by the intelligence running the system. If reality itself is a form of advanced code, then what we call God might not be a mystical being but rather the designer of this vast and complex simulation. If this is true, then humanity's search for meaning may be a search for the programmer. Every religious tradition asks, why are we here? And, who created us? In a simulation, these questions would have literal answers. We exist because we were programmed, and our creator may exist outside of this simulated universe. Reincarnation and simulation theory. Is life a repeated program? One of the most fascinating overlaps between religious beliefs and simulation theory is the idea of reincarnation. In Hinduism and Buddhism, reincarnation is the belief that after death, a soul is reborn into a new body, continuing a cycle of lives until it reaches enlightenment or liberation. Some theorists believe that this concept is eerily similar to a repeated simulation or a reset of consciousness in a digital system. If we are living in a programmed reality, what happens when we die? One possibility is that our consciousness is simply uploaded into a new simulation, much like restarting a game or transferring data to a new system. This would mean that death is not an end, but a transition to another version of the simulation. Some theorists suggest that reincarnation could be a function of the simulation itself, that when a person dies, their consciousness is either reinserted into a new body or possibly even erased and replaced with a new identity. This would explain why some people claim to have memories of past lives, as their consciousness might retain fragments of previous simulations. This also raises the possibility that our entire existence is a test or an experiment, where we are placed into different lives to experience various outcomes and scenarios. In religious traditions, the goal of reincarnation is to reach enlightenment, and escape from the cycle of rebirth. If we are in a simulation, perhaps the goal is to realize the truth and find a way to escape the system. Some believers in simulation theory suggest that déjà vu, prophetic dreams, and unexplained memories could be evidence of past iterations of the simulation bleeding into our current experience. If reality is a program running different versions of itself, then it is possible that some data from previous versions occasionally seeps into the current timeline. This concept also aligns with the idea of karma, where actions in one life affect future lives. If the simulation is designed to track choices and consequences, karma could be the program's built-in reward and punishment system, determining what kind of experience the next iteration of a consciousness will have. Are science and religion saying the same thing? The connections between ancient religious beliefs and modern simulation theory suggest that humanity has been asking the same questions for thousands of years. Whether through the idea of Maya in Hinduism, the illusion of self in Buddhism, or the search for a divine creator in Western religions, the underlying message is the same. There is more to reality than what we see. If simulation theory is true, then religious and spiritual beliefs might not just be symbolic metaphors, they could be real descriptions of the nature of existence. What if the reason so many ancient traditions describe reality as an illusion is because they were trying to tell us the truth all along? As technology advances, the line between science and spirituality is becoming increasingly blurred. The more we discover about the mathematical nature of the universe, the more it seems that reality is structured like a digital system. Could we be on the verge of proving what mystics and spiritual teachers have claimed for centuries, that we are living in an illusion, designed by a force beyond our understanding? If we truly are in a simulation, the next question is, what happens if we break out of it? In the next section, we will explore the real-world implications of discovering that we live in a simulation, and what it could mean for the future of humanity. Potential real-world implications. What happens if we discover we are in a simulation? The possibility that we are living in a simulated reality is already an idea that fascinates scientists, philosophers, and even ordinary people. But what if it were proven beyond doubt? What if researchers were able to provide definitive evidence that our universe is not the fundamental reality, but rather a complex digital construct created by an unknown intelligence? The moment such a discovery is made, humanity would face one of the greatest existential crises in history. Everything we believe about existence, our purpose, our understanding of life, and our connection to the universe, would be thrown into question. Would life lose its meaning, or would we see new possibilities in our simulated reality? If reality is just a program, then are we merely characters in someone else's cosmic experiment? And if so, do we have free will, or are our actions predetermined by the rules of the simulation? These questions would lead to a global shift in our understanding of philosophy, science, and even religion. Governments and organizations would likely race to understand the implications, fearing that whoever controls the simulation might have the power to alter or even shut it down. If our reality is simply a sophisticated program running on some cosmic supercomputer, then we would have to ask, is there a way to communicate with the creator of the simulation? And if there is, should we even try? Would it change how we live? If tomorrow, we woke up to undeniable proof that we are living in a simulation, how would society react? For some, life might continue as usual, because the day-to-day experience of reality would remain unchanged. After all, simulated or not, we still feel emotions, experience relationships, and face real consequences. However, for others, the revelation could be life-altering. If the world is simulated, would people stop taking life seriously? Would they start taking bigger risks, knowing that the world is not real in the way we once believed? Some might even believe that morality and ethics no longer matter, since they are living in a pre-programmed environment rather than an objective universe. On the other hand, such a discovery could also bring a sense of liberation. If we are in a simulation, then the physical limits of the universe may not be as rigid as we once thought. Understanding the mechanics of the simulation could allow us to push beyond what we thought was possible, leading to scientific advancements, breakthroughs in consciousness, and even control over reality itself. The biggest question is whether discovering we are in a simulation would unite humanity or divide it further. Some might see it as proof of a higher intelligence or a godlike force, while others might become obsessed with finding ways to break free from the simulation. Could we hack the simulation? If the universe is a programmed system, then it is possible that it has a source code, rules, and underlying mechanics that dictate how reality operates. This raises a fascinating question. Can we hack the simulation? In video games, players often find glitches or cheat codes that allow them to manipulate the system, break the rules, or access hidden features. If the universe is a simulation, could there be similar loopholes that allow us to bypass the limitations of physical reality? Some people believe that extraordinary human abilities, such as psychic phenomena, telekinesis, or spontaneous healing, could be the result of individuals who have somehow learned to manipulate the simulation at a deeper level. In the same way that hackers can exploit weaknesses in computer systems, could humans discover ways to rewrite the rules of the simulation? One theory suggests that meditation, deep focus, and altered states of consciousness might be methods of interacting with the source code of reality. If we could tap into the underlying framework of the simulation, we might be able to alter our perception of time, influence matter with thought, or even communicate with the intelligence running the simulation. Scientific studies on quantum mechanics have already revealed strange phenomena that defy classical physics, such as particles changing behavior when observed and the possibility of quantum entanglement allowing instantaneous connections across vast distances. If the universe operates on a computational level, could future discoveries in physics lead to new ways of interacting with the simulation? If hacking the simulation is possible, it might be the key to unlocking a new level of human potential, giving us the ability to reshape our reality in ways we never imagined. Are there escape routes or hidden messages in reality? One of the most intriguing possibilities is that the simulation might contain hidden messages, clues, or even escape routes built into its design. If an advanced intelligence created this world, is it possible they left behind evidence of the true nature of reality? Some theorists suggest that déjà vu, synchronicities, and unexplained phenomena might be glitches in the simulation, small moments where the system momentarily fails or resets. Others believe that religious and spiritual teachings contain hidden knowledge about how to transcend this reality, similar to how players in a game can find secret exits or unlock new levels. Some of the greatest minds in history, from ancient philosophers to modern scientists, have pondered whether reality is something we can escape from. In Hinduism and Buddhism, enlightenment is often described as awakening from the illusion of reality, much like realizing you are inside a simulation. If that is the case, could the secret to escaping the simulation lie in consciousness itself? If the simulation was built with an exit mechanism, the question remains, what happens if we find it? Do we wake up in another world, much like a character realizing they were in a dream? Do we merge with the intelligence that created the simulation? Or is it possible that there is no escape at all, and the only choice is to continue living within the system? Scientists and theorists continue searching for clues that might reveal the truth. If there is an escape route, it may not be a physical doorway, but rather a shift in perception, an awareness that reality is not what it seems. Perhaps the ultimate goal is not to escape the simulation, but to understand its purpose and embrace the role we play within it. What comes next? If simulation theory is true, then it forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about reality, life, and the universe itself. Whether or not we ever find a way to prove or escape the simulation, the search itself may be the most important part of the journey. In the next section, we will explore the biggest counterarguments against simulation theory, looking at the reasons why some scientists believe it's impossible and why others think the idea is just a modern myth. If we aren't in a simulation, then why does reality behave in such a mysterious way? Why we might not be in a simulation and the lack of direct evidence, where's the proof? One of the biggest criticisms of simulation theory is that, despite all the speculation and theoretical arguments, there is no direct evidence that proves we are living in a simulated universe. While some scientists point to quantum mechanics, mathematical structures in physics, and cosmic anomalies as potential hints, there is nothing that conclusively demonstrates that our reality is artificial. For a theory to be scientifically valid, it must be testable, observable, and falsifiable. Simulation theory, as intriguing as it is, does not meet these criteria. It raises a fascinating question: if we are inside a perfect simulation, would we even be able to detect it? A well-designed simulation would prevent its inhabitants from discovering the truth, meaning that the very lack of evidence could itself be evidence of the simulation. But this argument is problematic. If we assume that no evidence means the theory is correct, then we are venturing into circular reasoning, much like claiming that invisible ghosts exist simply because we can't see them. Without measurable proof, many scientists dismiss simulation theory as an interesting but ultimately unscientific hypothesis. The complexity of running a simulation on a cosmic scale. Another major challenge to simulation theory is the sheer computational complexity required to simulate an entire universe. If we consider how much processing power it takes to render even a detailed virtual world in today's video games, the idea of simulating an entire cosmos with trillions of galaxies, planets, and life forms seems almost incomprehensible. Even if we assume that a future civilization possesses computing technology far beyond our current understanding, the question remains: why would they simulate an entire universe when it would be far easier to simulate just a single planet or a small region of space? If efficiency were a concern, then most simulations would likely be limited in scope rather than simulating an entire cosmos with every detail accounted for. The computational power required to simulate every atom, every star, and every human thought would be so vast that even a civilization millions of years ahead of us might struggle to achieve it. Some argue that if we were in a simulation, we would have already discovered limitations, rendering issues, or signs that the simulation cannot handle infinite complexity. But as far as we can tell, the universe appears to function seamlessly, without the kind of constraints that would indicate a simulated environment. The assumption that future civilizations would create simulations. Nick Bostrom's ancestor simulation hypothesis assumes that advanced civilizations will eventually create highly detailed simulations of their past or of new, artificial realities. But this assumption is not guaranteed. One counterargument is that just because a civilization can create simulations doesn't mean that they would. The decision to create a simulated universe would require enormous amounts of resources, time, and energy. There is no clear reason why an advanced civilization would invest so much effort into creating simulated worlds unless they had a specific purpose, such as scientific research or entertainment. Another flaw in this assumption is that we don't know whether civilizations capable of creating simulations would even exist long enough to do so. Many scientists believe that technological civilizations tend to self-destruct before they reach such an advanced stage. This is known as the Great Filter Hypothesis, the idea that civilizations either destroy themselves through war, environmental collapse, or some other catastrophe before they become advanced enough to simulate entire realities. If this is the case, then the chances of a civilization surviving long enough to create simulations might be far lower than we assume. Additionally, even if simulations are created, it's possible that they would be limited in number rather than infinite. Bostrom's argument hinges on the idea that there would be billions or trillions of simulations, making it statistically likely that we are in one. But if only a handful of simulations exist, the probability that we are in one drops significantly. Could consciousness be a limitation? Another argument against simulation theory comes from the nature of consciousness itself. While AI and computers have advanced tremendously, we still do not fully understand how human consciousness works. For a simulated reality to feel as immersive as ours, it would need to create not just physical objects, but fully conscious beings capable of experiencing emotions, thoughts, and self-awareness. Some scientists argue that consciousness is not something that can be simulated, that it is fundamentally different from mere information processing. If true, this would mean that a simulated universe would never be able to replicate the kind of subjective experiences that humans have. Neuroscientists and philosophers still debate whether consciousness arises from physical processes in the brain or if it is something deeper and more mysterious. If consciousness is non-computable, then it could mean that our reality cannot be artificially generated through mere data and algorithms. The limits of technology and energy consumption. Even if a civilization were capable of running a simulation, they would still have to contend with energy limits. Simulating an entire universe would require an incomprehensible amount of energy, likely more than is available within any single planetary system. Some physicists believe that even the most advanced supercomputers would not be able to handle the sheer amount of information required to simulate an entire cosmos down to the atomic level. Quantum computers, which are still in their infancy, might one day unlock new computational possibilities, but even they may not be able to process something as vast as a fully realized universe. If there is an upper limit to computing power, then it is possible that running a full-scale simulation would simply not be feasible. Some have suggested that if we are in a simulation, then reality might not actually be as detailed as it appears. Just like in video games, where only the visible environment is rendered while the rest remains unprocessed, perhaps only the parts of the universe that are being observed are rendered in real time. But if this were the case, then we should have already found evidence of missing information, glitches or errors that reveal the limitations of the system. As of now, no such evidence has been discovered. Why simulation theory might just be a psychological illusion? One final argument against simulation theory is that it is a product of human psychology rather than actual scientific reasoning. Throughout history, humans have created myths, religions, and philosophical ideas to explain existence. Simulation theory might be nothing more than a modern interpretation of an age-old question, a way to rationalize our place in the universe using the technology of our time. Ancient societies believed in gods and divine beings who controlled human fate. Today, in an age of computers and artificial intelligence, people are starting to replace the idea of gods with programmers, viewing reality through the lens of technology rather than spirituality. This could mean that simulation theory is just the latest in a long line of human attempts to explain existence, rather than an actual scientific truth. So, are we in a simulation or not? While the idea of a simulated universe is fascinating, the lack of direct evidence, the computational complexity, and the assumptions required for the theory to hold true make it far from a proven reality. It remains a thought experiment rather than a confirmed fact, and many scientists continue to reject it on the basis of its speculative nature. But despite these counter-arguments, the idea refuses to go away. As technology advances and our understanding of the universe grows, new discoveries may yet provide unexpected insights into whether reality is truly what it seems. In the final section, we will explore the ultimate question: what should we believe? If simulation theory is true, what does that mean for humanity, purpose, and existence itself? And if it is false, why does the universe behave in ways that seem so eerily programmed? So, what should we believe? The case for simulation theory. The idea that we are living in a simulation is one of the most fascinating and controversial debates of our time. There are compelling arguments supporting the theory, with evidence drawn from quantum mechanics, digital physics, and mathematical structures embedded in reality. Scientists like Nick Bostrom, Elon Musk, and James Gates Jr. believe that the probability of living in a base reality is incredibly low, given that an advanced civilization could, in theory, create countless simulations. The findings in quantum physics, particularly the observer effect in the double-slit experiment, suggest that reality may only render itself when being observed, a trait eerily similar to how video games optimize processing power by only generating graphics when needed. The discovery of error-correcting codes in fundamental physics equations also hints at the possibility that the universe is following a programmed set of rules, much like a computer simulation. The parallels between simulation theory and ancient spiritual beliefs further deepen the mystery. Hinduism's Maya, Buddhism's illusion of self, and the AI God hypothesis all suggest that our world may be a construct designed by an intelligence beyond our comprehension. If we are in a simulation, then our experiences, love, loss, joy, suffering, could be part of a greater experiment, a test, or even an entertainment program run by an unknown force. The case against it. Despite the intrigue surrounding simulation theory, scientific skepticism remains strong. There is no direct evidence proving that we are in a simulation. The idea, while compelling, remains unfalsifiable, meaning that it cannot be tested or proven, a major flaw in the scientific method. Some scientists dismiss it as a modern version of religion, replacing gods with hyper-intelligent programmers who control our reality. The computational complexity of simulating an entire universe is another massive hurdle. The energy and processing power required to track every detail down to the atomic level would be astronomical, even for a civilization millions of years more advanced than us. If simulations do exist, some argue that they are far more likely to be limited in scope, meaning that our entire observable universe being simulated is unlikely. Another key argument is that assuming future civilizations will create simulations is purely speculative. There is no guarantee that advanced beings would choose to simulate past civilizations, and even if they did, there is no reason to assume they would run an infinite number of them. If only a few simulations exist, then the statistical likelihood that we are inside one becomes much lower. The biggest counterargument, however, comes from consciousness itself. Despite advances in artificial intelligence and neuroscience, we still don't understand what consciousness is or how it arises. If consciousness is non-computable, then it cannot be simulated, which would mean that a simulated reality with self-aware beings is impossible. So, what should we believe? At this point, simulation theory remains an open-ended mystery. It is one of the most mind-bending ideas ever proposed, and while there are strange coincidences in physics and reality, there is no definitive proof that we are inside a programmed world. Whether or not we live in a simulation, the search for answers continues to push the boundaries of science, philosophy, and human curiosity. But the real question isn't just whether we are in a simulation, it's what that means for us. If we are inside a simulation, then who or what created it, and why? And if we are not in a simulation, then why does the universe behave in ways that seem eerily programmed? If the universe is real, why does it follow such precise mathematical laws? Why does it contain strange quantum behaviors, hidden structures, and limits to perception that resemble a design system? These are the questions that keep scientists, philosophers, and futurists awake at night. So, what do you think? Are we living in a simulation? Or is this just another attempt by humans to explain the mysteries of existence? Let us know in the comments. Your perspective might just be the key to unlocking the truth.